I thought Boondock Saints was absolutely amazing for the longest time. Of course, I liked the movie, but I also loved the story behind it. The writer and director was working in a bar when he wrote the script, and it was so good he was able to get it made into a movie. Then, the film got snubbed because it was released 1 month after the Columbine shooting and chock full of vigilante violence. It made like 25 grand from its theatrical run, but ended up gaining a cult following on video where it pulled in 50 mil. I mean, that's kind of incredible, right? Some random guy comes out of nowhere to make an amazing movie. Who doesn't like a story like that? Of course, as I got older, I started to find some of the movie's content somewhat problematic. Moreover, Duffy is apparently a bit of an asshole, so all of that tarnished the movie for me a little bit. That being said, it's still kind of amazing. The movie is about two brothers who fall into vigilantism after getting into a fight with some Russian cartoon villains. The world's smartest FBI agent interrogates them, but lets them go and then proceeds to forget that they exist when all the scumbags in the city start dropping dead. They win a Walmart shopping spree. Rocco utterly destroys some girl's pussy, then joins the crew. A bunch of wise guys take dirt naps. Il Duce demonstrates poor firearm retention, and Willem Dafoe turns into the Knobgoblin. The movie gets a relatively light and humorous tone from a dose of camp and from over-the-top performances from David DeLaRocco and Willem Dafoe. And in case it wasn't apparent, Dafoe turns in a performance that makes Nicolas Cage look like he has the acting subtlety of Anthony Hopkins. You can't say Rocco is overacting, however, because apparently he's not acting. He's Duffy's real-life friend, and apparently Duffy just told him to be himself. Regardless, both performances are amazing and add to the movie's character. So I'd somehow lost my copy of Boondock Saints and went at least a decade without watching it. It was interesting watching it again after all that time. Things like strawman tropes and depictions of race had become salient to me in the intervening years, not to mention the fact that I had developed a pretty strong opposition to the death penalty. So, as I rewatched it, I wrestled with two questions. One, do I still like the movie? And two, is that okay? I ended up answering yes to both questions. Roll the roll credits gag. Thanks to everyone who watched this video to the end.
I hope this hasn't been boring for you.
For real though, let's briefly talk about the film's problematic content and why I think it's okay to like it anyway. Simply put, the movie is slightly racist and misogynist. It's not Birth of a Nation or anything, but expect things like a superfluous feminazi and everyone who doesn't have an American or Irish accent to be a bad guy. Moreover, I strongly disagree with what I believe to be the theme of the movie, namely that the death of criminals is just, deserved, and required in order to make the world a better place. I mean, I'm a former scumbag who has met an unending stream of former scumbags in recovery.
It's like a scumbag yard, sir. We should come down here once a week and clean house.
Many of us used to be monsters wearing man suits. Yet, here we are trying to turn our lives around, trying to be the men and women that we want to be. We strive to be better versions of ourselves and to be positive, pro-social influences on those around us. And so the question I have to ask is, are we evil, or had we merely done evil? If you ask me, it's a pretty important question, because someone who has merely done evil is someone who can be saved. They are someone who can and should be returned to the flock. Someone who is evil, on the other hand, is someone who is incapable and undeserving of redemption. They can and should be put down, or at the very least locked away for the rest of their lives. Needless to say, I have my own opinions, and they run contrary to the theme of the film. Yet, in spite of the problematic content and the fact that I'm a big believer in redemption, I still like the movie. And that's because it's a good fucking movie. Bad movies are still bad, and good movies are still good, no matter whether they contain questionable material or not. Controversial content, the PC police, scumbag celebrities, or even themes that I personally disagree with aren't going to stand in the way of me enjoying that which I find enjoyable. Let me put it this way. RoboCop fails the Bechdel test, but RoboCop 3 passes. So in short, do I still like the Boondock Saints? Yeah. But now for some hard to swallow pills. As a white heterosexual male, I don't get to say that racism doesn't exist or that various medias don't contain problematic content. Quite frankly, it's not up to me. I kind of think of it like that Louis C.K. joke.
You know, like when you say to a friend of yours, you're being an asshole, and they're like, no, I'm not. Well, it's not up to you if you're an asshole or not. That's up to everybody else.
Moreover, the research does seem to suggest that media can influence beliefs and behaviors. Of course, that does not change my staunch opposition to media scapegoating, but I have to remain open to the idea that media is not inert. All that being said, I'm not convinced that it makes it wrong to love media that does contain problematic content. However, how we respond to objectionable material and criticisms is another story. I mean, what's worse, loving 500 Days of Summer or sending rape and death threats to Anita Sarkeesian for saying that Little Miss Adorkable plays a manic pixie dream girl? Look, I understand not wanting other people to ruin the media we love, but angry and obstinate rejections of criticisms does a disservice to society and to the media we cherish. I mean, surely I can't be the only one that thinks that the discussions that media generates gives that media far more cultural value than it would otherwise have as a mindless piece of entertainment. Nutshot compilations and reaction videos are mindless entertainment. Movies like the Boondock Saints, whether you think of them as low or high art, are still art. They still warrant discussion. We may not always like the answers that these discussions come up with, but that doesn't mean that we should stop having them, or that we can't love our stuff anymore. In short, is it okay that I like the Boondock Saints? Yes, but that's based upon the condition that I'm not a reprehensible asshole about it. Alright, let's wrap this up. Saints is a moderately campy action flick that's unintentionally funny. Well, I assume it was unintentional. The action is bloody and frequent, but not exactly badass. The characters really kick things up a notch, however, and provide a plethora of quotable lines. It's definitely something worth watching with your partners in crime, but maybe not so much with the crotch dumplings. Besides the violence and problematic content, it also sports a notable amount of cussing. All in all, though, the Boondock Saints earns my seal of not too racist to enjoy approval. Duffy made a sequel, but it was pretty forgettable. Literally. I watched it like 5 years ago sober, and I hardly remember anything about it. He also hasn't made anything else of note. Supposedly, he's difficult to work with, which would explain why he was unable to translate the success of Saints into a career. This is unfortunate, because asshole or not, the dude had potential. Anyway, he's often been compared to Tarantino, but I would have picked Shane Black if I had to pick anyone. As such, I suppose I should kick off the recommendations with The Long Kiss Goodnight. I don't know if I would call it an action comedy, but Samuel L. Jackson being all Samuel L. Jackson-y certainly gave me a few chuckles. Snatch is Guy Ritchie's second film, and quite possibly his best one to date. It features an ensemble cast, and it's better than Sex with Hot Chicks. Finally, I debated putting The Professional on this list because it has a more serious tone and doesn't have the whole buddy thing going on. Still, it's a great movie with a memeable performance by Gary Oldman. Oh, and I almost forgot, you can find all of these movies through my Amazon affiliate links down below, which I get a cut from. Alright, don't forget to support all of your favorite content creators, and until next time, like all the things I like, hate all the things I hate.